Hello, everybody, and welcome back for episode 14 of Read This Way, a manga and anime podcast where we pretty much just talk about the news and state of the manga and anime world, as far as we know, and whatever we're reading.
As we know.
I'm Brad.
Yeah. Or watching. And I'm Logan. Yeah. Sorry. It's not a proper intro for us unless we screw it up in some way.
That's right. Hey, Jack. Mwah. We'll kick off today with some amazing news. We've finally got a date for Chainsaw Man Part 2. So if anyone's been watching us at all, you'll know that we are massive Fujimoto stans and can't get enough of whatever he does. Including his proteges and people that have worked under him as well.
Oh, that's right. I mean, it's just as much as I don't like to use the word talent, but the amount of talent that's come off the back of all the titles he's worked on is just immense. And I don't know if that's Fujimoto or just his the kind of people that he attracts.
Yeah, it's a very good point, actually, whether or not it's like correlation or causation. But definitely, like the mangaka for Hell's Paradise, Aishimon, the mangaka for Dandadan, both have worked under him as assistants. Both have done amazing titles. Unfortunately, Aishimon didn't pick up enough traction on the main platform, but we talked about that last week and how depressed we were about it. Or last fortnight, I should say.
Yes, we should continue on as there is a slew of new to talk about.
But yes, so we're looking at July 16th, I believe it is, as a rough date for when Part 2 will be released simultaneously here in the West and in the East.
Yeah, simul release.
Which is going to be a Saturday release as well.
Oh. I mean, big title. Does that mean
it is on Jump Plus as well?
So shifting from Jump to Jump Plus.
Yeah.
Does that mean we're going to get a variation of page count and some maybe more intense scenes? No doubt. Well, I think by the sounds of it, he's pre-warned the editors and the.
It very well could lean into more of what he did in Fire Punch with more adult content, and I mean that in the very broad sense, not just the boobies.
No, the more mental straining.
Yeah,
and I mean, the violence in Fire Punch is as gory as it can be. Sometimes it's not the worst I've seen.
No, but I think like the whole burning alive and things as well, like, and cannibalism, like there's some pretty heavy topics in there.
Oh yeah. So the shift to Plus just means that we're going to be getting some more awesome content.
Yeah, and I believe if we look at Ishida's schedule and the way that he's able, to bring out Trojan X, it fills me with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, definitely. I if anything, Trojan X has proven that even with a little bit of a inconsistent schedule release, popularity can just bloom like crazy.
Yeah.
And he's got the name behind him now. Everybody's waiting for it. They don't need to hold back.
Absolutely. And I mean, we did there was one chapter in Chainsaw Man Part 1 that they did a special color spread that was only on Jump Plus.
Yeah.
When they were introducing who was the girl that had Halloween under her control, and
that was that
gang.
cover. Yeah.
It wasn't really anything.
One.
Yeah. It was a little saucy, but it wasn't really like triple X rated.
No, nothing to that extreme. I wouldn't have even thought it was necessary for a Plus release. It's just them being cautious, I guess.
Yeah.
or making
Um,
it more than it is.
probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got
Yeah.
one big massive title coming back.
Yeah.
In the same vein of news, we've got another uh 3 titles coming back off hiatus.
Yeah.
One's a really special case. Black Clover's coming back for its final arc saga. We're not the translation is a bit iffy with when it comes to um, the word that they use in Japanese versus how we break our stories apart. It's the same argument that we had when One Piece is going on its hiatus and
Yeah.
is going to take a break to assess the last part of his story, and that could be another 5-6 years worth of One Piece. We're not really
Yeah.
sure. So yeah, it's coming back. I'm kind of excited for that. I really like Black Clover.
Yeah.
I really didn't like it when it first aired on the anime. I personally didn't vibe much with the Japanese voice actor for Asta. He screamed a lot.
I tried it several times actually. I really tried to get into it because it's so popular,
Yeah.
and it just didn't. Something just didn't click with me. It just didn't.
Yeah. Look,
I didn't find it interesting.
it is very shonen.
Yeah.
It's very unapologetically shonen. It reminds me a lot of Naruto, Bleach, like that sort of
Yeah.
era of Jump, which you can kind of tell from even like, bits of its art style and even story structure.
Yeah. 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 And the other one,
He did so much screaming. The dub fixes a lot of the issues. I'm not sure if it's just like a culture's shift. Like I'm more used to hearing English people scream than I am hearing a Japanese person scream a lot. But my God, Asta tone he does tone it down, but that's why I ended up shifting to the manga because I don't have to hear him.
scream.
Yeah, I can just look at him scream and be like, "Ah, oh,
Yeah.
peaceful, quiet."
Excellent.
Um,
And the other big news is Hunter x Hunter, right?
yes, Hunter x Hunter's coming back after
Mm.
its a million year hiatus, which I think it feels like the right time for me to pick up Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, I haven't picked it up for a while. Um,
I've
yeah,
had a
it's
lot
been
of
years.
people
Yeah, it's
recommend
been
it to
years
me.
since I read it. So it's nowhere near.
See, I tell you.
Um, it's great to hear that the artist is so healthy enough to come back on board and
Yeah.
run out another. I think they were talking about another 10 chapters.
Well, from what I've heard,
Um,
he's already got potentially 4 either completed or at least sketched out in terms of it already being in like that production stage of
yeah,
everything's laid out and it just needs to have the assistants go in and ink everything and whatnot. But yeah, if 10 chapters, is that what you've heard?
that's what I heard.
Okay.
Whether it's true or not, I don't know. He's been dropping a lot of Twitter photos of
I
page
see.
numbers and all that sort of stuff. So it's all just a guess in the end.
I do
But
hope I do hope that they're facilitating this more relaxed schedule for him as well.
yeah,
Similar to what they're doing for Ishida and potentially even Fujimoto as well.
yeah. Considering the popularity of the titles,
Yeah,
there would be no reason for them to push them harder. They've proven
yeah,
themselves. They've done the hard push.
yeah,
Let them go at their own pace now
yeah.
and produce the
And
quality that we all want.
if they've got like 4 or 10 chapters under the belt, stagger those releases so he can take his time with
Mm.
the more chapters that he needs to flesh out whatever's left of the story.
Yeah, yeah. Don't just drop them all at once.
Please.
Let 'em roll out.
Don't do a Netflix.
One every couple of weeks, give him a solid 20 weeks worth of release.
Yeah, a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's
Um
I think that's fair enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
and the final big one is Berserk,
Yeah.
which is the odd special case.
It
So
is indeed. And this news dropped like right after the video last
yeah.
week. Like within
So
half an hour of the video last week.
it's a little bit old news now, but the production I hear is already started up again. So for those who don't know, the original mangaka for Berserk passed away. Was it last year now? Was it early this
I
year?
think no, I think it was either early last year. Yeah, I think it was early last year. I think it's been close to a year
Yeah.
since he passed away.
He passed away from serious health complications, and his best friend, along with his assistant team, are looking to give a conclusion to the story, basically through a, I would say, a sense of obligation to their friend. That's
Yeah,
what I'm getting from the official statement that's been
yeah,
released.
yeah.
Uh,
The way he describes how they're going to handle
yeah,
the chapters that they have uh, lined up is even if components of the stories are missing, they're going to only release what they know
yeah,
was fact.
yeah.
Um,
They're not
so
going to fluff it up.
no, no, not at all. And the fact that he's the only person on Earth that knows the ending is just
Yeah,
mind-boggling.
yeah.
He's one of the most valuable people on Earth at the moment with that sort of information. So,
um,
but it's
and
good. It's kind of heartwarming to think
it
that
really is.
a team that were so dedicated to him for years upon years, and people that he trusted with working on his work or
Yeah,
trusted enough to divulge the story to are feeling the same dream that he was feeling.
yeah.
You know, one,
And I do think it's been enough time for them to do this as well. Like if they had have done this like a week or two after his passing, I
yeah, I
don't
think that
think it
would have
would have
been
gone down well at
no,
all.
a little bit on the nose. They this was after, I believe, this was a few weeks after they had cleaned up a lot of his estate and stuff like that,
I see.
and they'd actually found manuscripts and sketches and so on and so forth to support basically enough of the story to be able to finish it off. So it's um it's
It's a
good that he
very
had kept that sort of
yeah.
stuff.
It is a very bittersweet, heartwarming sort of story.
Yeah.
But yeah. So those are the four big titles that are coming back very soon, or are back in production after being in hiatus. Um,
All very semi-serious titles too. So these are big hitters,
yeah.
uh, and they're not light. I mean,
Well,
they border
I,
on
I'd s-
seinen. So
I'd
it's
say Black Clover is probably your most shonen out of the bunch,
yeah.
and after its little cliffhanger, I get the feeling it might have a bit of a seinen ending. Which I'm all for. There's going to be a lot of backstabbing and betrayal and a lot of
Yeah.
gut punches to the characters. It's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they're delving pretty heavily into devils and demons in the last sort of arc, and that's bleeding into the final stretch of the series as well. So cool. I really like the demon designs. They're really creepy, but don't look that cheesy. Like there's a couple of them
Yeah.
that are a bit like cartoonish, but some of them are quite unsettling.
Yeah. Okay. Un- Unsettling.
It's
Another.
yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's nice to have a high fantasy manga in uh Jump.
Yeah, look, you're not wrong. It's not
It's
exactly it's usually sci-fi that floats in that area. So yeah, it is a bit
Or slice
unusual
of
to see.
life.
Yeah,
Like there's not really much outside of like you've got your supernatural and your sci-fi and your slice of life, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, indeed.
I
Let's
think. Oh, sorry. Yep.
sorry, I was going to say let's touch on this survey. Let's touch on the survey because I just want to talk about this because this is quite entertaining. The way
Go
Shueisha's
for it, man.
done this. The way Shueisha's so the guys over at Manga Plus currently running a survey on their app, which is pretty standard actually. It's I wouldn't expect anything less from a corporation of its particular capacity to be questioning whether people want to pay for things, how much they want to pay, all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. But the one that has really been catching everyone's eye is their questions about pirated manga and
Yeah,
pirate
and
websites.
where do you read? How often do
Yes.
you read? Where exactly do you read?
What can you provide us with a link to the website where you read? It is unabashedly attempting to find out, who's pirating their manga and how much of it they're pirating, because there's some big sites out there. And look, I'm not saying go out and support piracy and it's the best thing, but sometimes you just can't get your hands on what you want to get your hands on. And
And the
it's
flip
just,
side to that is it also breeds creativity in the way that they distribute as well.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's probably the best way to force a company's hand. If they're
that's
not
right.
fulfilling the needs, then they need to address that and assess why people are pirating their work.
Yeah, and why, why is suddenly there a popularity for a particular title kicking up? Why is, you know there's something that people are ordering from overseas suddenly because the pirate sites are finally translating it,
Yep.
sometimes doing a better job, and finally translating it.
Sometimes.
uh, Sometimes, I mean, you look at something like Comey Can't Communicate. That was a prime example
Yes.
of, a big giant company thinking that they were doing the right thing, and they were untouchable, only to realize that, you know some guy in his bedroom has just done it 3 times better
And
than
I
what they
think
could.
that's the other side of it is the people that are pirating these things are essentially um damn it. There's the passion. There's a passion behind it. The
Yeah,
reason
yeah,
that they're doing this is it. Sure, there might be like ad revenue on their pirate sites or whatever, but the main purpose is passion, and they
yeah,
want this place to, sorry, this project to gain traction and gain popularity, so it doesn't fall by the wayside.
that's right, and gets remembered. It's
Yes.
a love, it's a passion. We are all
Yes, Jack,
pirates.
we are all pirates.
Here in Australia we are, um, world renowned. uh, Yeah, I think you're right. I think pirate sites are both a, I mean, not a great thing, but at the same, because the artists aren't being provided with
Yeah.
the revenue and the attention that they should be receiving. But at the same time, they're not going to get that attention or revenue if it's not translated, if it's not put in the right channels. So it's they're losing out regardless
Yeah.
of whether this
It's
happens or not.
the problem isn't at the mangaka level, it's at the
No,
publication level and
that's right.
distribution level.
That's right. They need to understand that manga and anime are now global phenomenon.
Yeah.
You know,
And just because you have a semi-functional app doesn't mean that you stop innovating and working on that app. If you can
that's
give a
right.
better product, people will pay for it. It's as
That's
simple
right.
as that.
Keep releasing more. Throw your back catalog on there. I mean, the amount of people that are subscribing to Shonen Jump because they can go back and read
Yes.
all of One Piece.
Yep. So this
They
is
can go
the
back and read all of that stuff. So it's, yeah.
this is the big difference between the two apps as well. So
Hmm.
you have Manga Plus being directly by Shueisha, and then you have the Shonen Jump app, which is done by Viz. So you've got a Japanese company and a American company. The American company you have to pay a subscription for, but you get a lot more out of it.
Yeah.
The Manga Plus app, so long as you're up to date, you can read everything for free.
Yeah.
However, they don't have a lot in the way of back catalog. Admittedly, the whole app is free, but it's not. It has its flaws. Both of them do, but
Yeah, and I think this is a distribution rights thing. So they've sold their
yeah,
rights to Viz, and Viz are holding on to that right there.
yeah,
Um, but at the same time, Shueisha are getting around it by releasing free content at a minimal level.
yeah.
Um,
Which is
and
really weird that it's their stuff on their platform, but yet they don't have the license to distribute it.
yeah,
Because if the like you have the first three chapters and the most recent three chapters, everything else in the middle, you either go to a pirate site or you go to Jump the Shonen Jump app.
yeah. Well,
Like
even
the
then, you can only get 50% of it because there's so much of it
yeah,
on the Manga Plus app that you can't get on Shonen Jump, and that's why
yes.
that's why I've got both on. Otherwise, I would just have Jump.
Yes. Well, all the Jump Plus stuff is, if you've noticed, all of that stuff is all on Manga
Manga Plus.
Plus
Yeah.
unrestricted. But the core Jump things titles are restricted in what they have
Yeah.
on there. I might actually need to double check that because I think when I was looking at the Kajiki Chef the other catching up on it, I think it only had 6 chapters available. It's
Oh, really?
I could be wrong. That's why I'm double checking.
Yeah.
um, where are you?
Huh.
Jump Plus.
Our current license prohibits us
No,
from
I tell a
publishing.
lie. It's got all of it so far. So yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like the Jump Plus stuff is the only stuff that they have basically free reign over.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then everything else is licensing restrictions. I think there is a few bleed over series. No, even Kaiju number 8, which is considered a Jump Plus property, only
Is
has
it?
the first three and the last three.
Because I started reading that on Jump.
Yeah. So the weird thing about Jump is that it's got a few titles that are available that are Jump Plus titles available on it, and then it's also got a few non-Jump titles that you can only read on the website because of age restrictions, because they want that G rating essentially.
Ah,
So
just world, give us control over the content and the production of the software, and Australia will do it properly. We promise. We'll
we
get
have in the
everything out.
past.
We have.
Like, look at Anime Lab
Man, that was the ultimate anime platform.
until
Full
it got
stop.
bored.
Yeah, until I got bought and trashed for no reason. I don't even
Yeah.
understand why they killed that back end because it was so perfect. Simple. They didn't
Um,
need to update it. They didn't need to change it.
I know, but
That's a different. That would just get me angry.
I
It's
know. Like, the only way you can read Dan Da Dan through Jump is by going onto their website,
yeah,
or you go onto the Manga Plus website and you can read it all there.
which is what
So
I've been doing lately.
yeah,
I just do
it
yeah.
weird double handling.
Mm.
There's another couple on there as well. Like, I know Golden Kamui's one. Um, Dan Da Dan's another, and I think Kaguya is Kaguya Summer on the app on the phone.
I don't know.
I'm gonna check.
Might be.
Um, But yeah, so there's definitely a distribution problem. Problem.
Problems.
A problem.
Problems, indeed. Yes, distribution problems, back end problems, translation problems.
Oh, no,
These guys can't get things right.
it is
They
on
just
the
can't
app.
get it right. But we don't have a choice in the end. Well, we do. We can go to a pirated site and do it, which is
Which
why they're asking us, because clearly they must be losing readers. That's
my
the thing that I can think of.
my hope is that this survey isn't just so that they can shut down um, pirate sites. It's that so they can innovate and actually address the problem at its core.
Yeah, yeah,
But I mean, this is just Jump and Shueisha. There's a lot more manga out there that is being pirated because
yeah.
there is no distribution overseas.
That's right.
As far as I'm aware, Tokyo Revengers doesn't have a legitimate way to read it except for the tankobans,
Yeah,
which are like 8 to 10 to 12 chapters behind.
yeah.
Um,
Which is frustrating as hell,
uh,
right? It's you don't get a choice there.
and it's like one of the biggest selling manga at the moment.
And
So
not
like
just in Japan, but internationally speaking as
yeah,
well. So
so
it's
it's a very hard line to kind of to look at and argue against.
it's confusing though why don't they just push up the schedule, release them? They got to have them sitting there translated. They must.
I mean, the easiest thing to do, and they probably don't want to because it would be facilitating the pirates, but hire the pirates.
Hmm.
Go to these websites and instead of just shutting them down, hire them. That you instantly get translators, typesetters, cleaners, and most of them have professional grade quality.
That's right. They've all got training in some level with dealing with this stuff. Yeah, there's resource there and they're not utilizing it. So people are turning to pirating because they have a passion for it. They don't have an outlet
Yep.
and they have titles that they want everybody to read, but nobody can read Japanese or Korean or Chinese or whatever, wherever it's coming from. French, which I recently found out, which is Manfra. Um,
Oh.
yeah, that's a whole thing too.
Oh.
It's there's stuff everywhere, and everybody's producing stuff everywhere, and it's not being translated by the official companies because they think there's no resource for it. People
The,
don't want it or don't need it.
I mean, I would love one of the series that I really want to get into is Kingdom, but as far as I'm aware, there is no official release. And
It's
it is one of the biggest selling manga in Japan.
so why?
Because they don't think that there's a market for it outside of Japan because it's like another Warring States period piece, which I hope the Elusive Samurai is going to prove them wrong, so they maybe will actually release this thing.
It's just it's fascinating how they think we think.
Yeah.
You know.
100% Jack. There doesn't seem to be
No,
any
no,
common sense in like that CEO mindset. It's all money,
no.
money, money
Well, money,
instead
money,
of
figures.
yeah.
Uh,
And
it's
I wonder if it is a generational thing, whether they just see it as print media and that's it. We need
yeah.
to sell, 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 print, print, print.
Only do the popular stuff. This is what everybody wants. Let's do this. Not realizing that there's so much content out there that people want,
Yeah.
but they can't get their hands on. So it's
Um,
yeah. It's
I
it's so
mean,
so yes, Shueisha, yes, everybody is pirating, and not
and not
necessarily
just
because we
Shueisha,
want to.
Kodansha,
Yeah,
Shokugakan. Like there's I think 3 or 4 major publishing companies, and Shueisha's the only one that has the balls to just come out and ask us, "Are you
yeah.
guys pirating? Where? Tell us, please."
It would be great if the case was that they would approach these pirates and say, "Hey guys, let's work together. Let's make
Yeah,
something happen."
that
Uh,
is
that
the
would be
like
great.
that just seems like the most straightforward way to go about this. It solves two problems in one.
We need to create a publishing pirates con, a convention for you know aspiring translators and cleaners and all that sort of stuff to show off their work to the publishers. Hey guys, come over this way. Let us release your
And
titles.
then they all
And you're not.
and then they all get arrested.
I know, that's and it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. And a lot of these titles that I do read on pirate sites are older. They're like really old series from the 90s or early 2000s that are never going to get released and have made their money a million times over in Japan, and they still won't translate them. They won't provide the service to us. It's just frustrating. It really is.
Just looking at the weekly sales, like the top three, you've got Tokyo Revengers, Kingdom, Spy Family. Like out of those three, Spy Family is pretty much the only one you can read legally.
Yeah.
Going further down, there's Golden Kamuy, which you can read legally, but it's behind. There's Sao Sao no Freeren, which I haven't heard of before, but it's a Shueisha. I tell a lie. It's Shokugakan publication, which is the same publication company as Detective Conan, which is number 6. And Mystery to Tolu Nakare. That was very Western pronunciation of that one.
Excellent. On point.
And those three titles right there, 5, 6, and 7, are both from Shakugakan.
Yeah.
And then we go to Kaguya-sama Love is War, Oshinoko, and Ao Ashini, which is another Shokugakan, which doesn't have an official release.
Oshinoko is doing well.
Oshinoko is doing very well. And I think its anime announcement is helping, as well as its addition to Manga Plus. Admittedly, before it had been released, I was reading that on pirate sites because it was the only way to read it. And now that it's being released on Manga Plus, I'm rereading it again. It's interesting to see the different takes on the translation. But it's such an interesting series. It's wild that it's taken this long for them to actually put it to some form of official publication.
Yeah, that's right. And this is it. This is the whole problem. So till we can read everything. And look, I'm happy to pay a subscription service. I'm happy to do that sort of stuff and be legitimate if I can get what I want.
Yeah, pretty much. If you give us the supply, like there is demand for it, just give it to us.
That's right. Righto. On another note, there's been a whole bunch of new content this week.
Yes.
Lots of new content.
So we are looking at what do we got? There's a lot to cover.
Yeah.
So we have what was the first one that we were reading?
So Aliens
Area.
Yeah, Aliens Area. It's actually a really awkward title. I quite often forget it. I just know it's got aliens in the title.
I honestly, I was hooked on issue 1. We've got 3 chapters out now.
Yep.
I'm so invested in this.
I know. I was reading through it yesterday, and I'm just every page I'm just flicking through it. I'm going, yeah, Brad's going to be so into this.
I don't know what it is about it either.
I know exactly what it is. It's the quirky character design
Yeah.
and the weird angles and little spurts of action in between all the character development. It's
Yep.
um it's pretty well paced so far. Uh,
I really like the activation technique.
yeah,
The
yeah,
the whole tying it into us as what we are is just mammals,
yeah,
because it's putting us through the lens of aliens, which I think is really cool.
yeah,
Um, and making us feel like not necessarily well, actually, yeah, making humans feel foreign.
yeah, yeah. You could say, yeah, it's definitely looking at it from a different perspective. Um, and the humans definitely don't look normal in,
Yeah,
and when I say normal, but the day-to-day person you meet down the street, these people are a little bit odd, to say the least.
I'm
And
absolutely in love with like the main detective's design. He just looks so cool.
I think they did it. They've done a bit of work on that. They took their
Yeah,
time with that one because it's so
he's been
simple.
polished.
Yeah, so simple, but so unique in his own way. So
Yeah, and he seems to have
it's
a scar too. So I'm wondering if he's an implantee as well.
maybe
Yeah.
time will tell.
But if anyone hasn't doesn't know what it is, it's essentially alien task force. So like think your
It's
national security, but it's international interstellar security.
of sorts. It. Let's say it. It's a little bit MIB.
It's Men in Black.
Yeah, it's Men in Black. It's Men in Black, but with cool superpowers and crazy cool character design.
It's
It's
manga in black.
yeah, yeah, indeed. And not to say that it's a rip-off, not to say that it is the same thing, because it's not. We're just using that as a comparison because it's the easiest way to understand it.
It
Um,
it honestly
without,
it does have a lot of similarities too. Like it, but it's very much so its own thing.
yeah, yeah. There's of course there's going to be similarities. You can't. I mean, they painted it so broad that Men in Black was painted so broad that anything that involved aliens or cops was going to be put into that bracket, regardless of how
Yep,
you looked at it. So it's definitely not Men in Black, but it's a very similar premise of protecting the planet from alien threat using a special task force.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, but also it's added its own flair with the alien experimentation on humans, which is really cool.
yeah,
And that's what I was saying earlier about one of the other main characters being an implantee as well. So with chapter 3, we're finally being introduced to the rest of the core cast and the main characters, I guess, task force
yeah.
team,
His oh, what do you call it?
senpais.
Because they're just a group. Really, I'm just trying to remember what he called them. um I might bring
The
it up.
Section 5 Foreign Affairs Division, Public Security
Yeah,
Bureau.
that's it.
Oh,
That's it.
actually, what I
Section
really, really,
5 of
really
Area
liked,
5.
my favorite part of the whole chapter was where the base is located, in between floors 12 and 13,
Yeah,
and you need two special keys to just get in.
yeah, yeah. It was good fun. It was very spy in a sense. So they're definitely having a lot of fun with the content.
We got to
um
see some actual like more aliens and stuff, which was
yeah,
again very very Men in Black esque. um
I have a feeling this, depending on how the next 3 to 4 chapters play out, I think we'll have this title for quite some time, because it does
so
have a very quirky shonen vibe.
yeah,
Very quirky
and
shonen
it's
vibe.
got such good like perspective shots too, like
Yeah, I did notice that it has a lot of angle work in there.
Yeah.
Loves to play with the camera.
I really like the new girl too. She has a really cool design and some really awesome looking powers.
Yeah, crazy speed.
Yeah. Also, can we just talk about what the heck is going on with his arm? Like,
I
that
was
was,
expecting him to just stretch his arm out, but then it just went like freaking spawn of Satan kind of level insanity.
yeah, it was nuts. I'm not
Yeah.
entirely sure. Like, is he spawning like a bunch of different arms? Is it moving super fast? Like,
I think it's just arms off arms.
lots of arms.
Just lots of arms. His superpower is just lots of arms.
I do hope they do go into more of what, like, obviously they will, like, it's chapter
Yeah.
3, but I'm really, that's what I crave, is that, like, deep diving into the inner workings of like these sorts of abilities and powers. I'm a bit of a power geek when it comes to that
Yes,
sort of
you are.
stuff.
You are. Character dev nut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the writer in me, homie. Yeah, he's got mochi powers.
He does indeed.
Definitely not like anyone else from a certain pirate manga.
Well, it initially looked that way,
It
but
did, it did.
but not, now it doesn't. It's almost as if they've gone. It looks just a little bit too Luffy. Can we do something else?
Sure, demon.
What if we just attached more arms to his arm?
And then, well, there's not really a whole lot more to talk about with that one.
No, not really.
It's
Being
really cool though.
so early on.
Very flashy.
Yeah.
Art is just impeccable at this stage. Oh
Yeah.
god.
So get on board with it. Give it the views. Give it the reads, so you can
Yep.
actually,
Jump on early.
hang around. Definitely.
The next one is a bit of an interesting case. So you and I had actually read the one shot that this was based off uh, on a website uh, because it was unavailable to us because we never get one shots.
Yeah.
Actually, I tell a lie. We are starting to
We
get
get them
one
now.
shots
Then.
now.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. I'm really, really liking getting one shots, especially Fujimoto's one shots. But anyway, Ruri Dragon, the story of a young girl who wakes up with dragon horns.
And everybody's so goddamn low key.
It's so chill good about it. They're like, "Oh, whoa, check him out." It's very it's a heartwarming coming of age story.
It is wholesome.
It's very wholesome. Yeah, is probably the word I was looking for.
For the
It's
moment,
definitely a slice of life of it.
I don't know.
As well.
I feel like we're gonna get a bit more action later on. I feel like there's a bit of a vibe where things will get a little bit messy later on, but I hope it keeps this laid back sort of vibe to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is it's coming of age, she's discovering her powers and trying to go through high school.
It's very reminiscent of a toned down Fully Cooley to me.
Yeah. Yeah, in a sense.
It has the
way turned down.
Yes. So like if you take the craziness out of a lot of what Fully Cooley is, like if you just focus on Naota and the whole horns growing out of his head, it was all like a metaphor for him coming of age and the whole puberty thing. That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying it's a bit of a toned down Fully Cooley. It's just really cute. I'm glad that the mum's getting a lot more fleshed out in the serialization version.
I really like their relationship. It's really good.
It's very good. It doesn't seem super mum daughter. They almost have and I say almost, they almost have that equal footing relationship that
more like sisters kind of level almost.
Yeah, like there is still that hierarchy of that relationship, but it's very relaxed.
Yeah,
Which
like this whole series, the whole thing is
yeah,
just.
it's so chill. I love the grandma so
Yeah.
much.
Oh, she was great.
if
Grandmas and
any
everything are great.
if anyone gives you trouble about the horns, just run them through. It's like, whoa, grandma, okay. I hope that comes back. I hope that she
Yeah,
does. There does come in some sort of like battle sort of shonen stuff, and there's other dragons or other mythos tied in, like maybe even
yeah,
Tengu,
yeah.
that sort of stuff.
As long as
Um,
she doesn't get dragged off to some freaking mythological school thing,
yes,
as long as they stay away from that and they keep in everyday life.
I
Um,
hope it goes. If it does go down that route, I hope it's more Witch Watch than Little
yeah,
Witch Academia.
yeah.
That's
What's
my
your
hope for the
vibe?
series. I hope it stays chilled and relaxed.
Yeah.
Um, Also, just everything about it is so damn cute.
The art is just stunning. It's so
I love
simple,
the mum's design is like the most simple design out of every other character as well.
but
Like
she's so cool.
she heavily contrasts Ruby so much, like
Yeah,
especially their eyes.
yeah.
Um, which is something they haven't touched on. I noticed is that her eyes are becoming more and more dragon-like. Whereas you look at the mum's eyes and they're just black. There is no detail whatsoever.
She reminds me a
Um,
lot of the mum in what's that Studio Ghibli movie with the fish?
Ponyo?
Ponyo. The mum in Ponyo. That's who she
Yeah.
reminds me of.
Actually,
Yeah.
very similar sort of vibe, I would
Yeah,
say.
the vibe and design is very similar.
Yeah.
Chilled and relaxed, but willing to kick ass when necessary.
Yeah, and very as chilled and relaxed as it is, it also seems very magical and fantastical.
Yeah. They're just not hyping up the magical side of it. They're just
Yeah. The weirdest thing is that everyone is so it's normalized so
yeah.
quickly. Everyone like no one freaks out. The teacher is probably my favorite character so far. Like
Oh, that's
she's
different.
like,
Okay.
yeah, good enough for me. Back to class. It's like, I'm sorry. One of your students just breathed fire on the back of another child's head, and good enough for you.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I really am. And I
I
hope
am it.
I hope
Yeah,
when it hits anime, because it will. This is a title that is going to stick around, and it
yeah,
will hit anime. I hope they
very
keep that
quirky.
relaxed environment
Yeah,
with the animation. That's what I'm hoping.
I hope it doesn't get like the generic um, anime adaptation. I hope it does keep its stylized, cutesy, fantastical, laid
Yeah,
back style.
yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of different buzzwords in that sentence, but
Buzz away.
um
Right. Other new
the other
titles.
okay, so it's kind of not super new now, but it's one of the Jump Plus titles, and I've been meaning to talk about it for the last 2-3 episodes. Marriage Toxin, so damn cute. It is
It
my
has.
favorite battle rom com ever.
Yeah, yeah. It is so unique and so interesting. Um, I just there's nothing to compare it to.
It's
It
also
is.
kind of tiptoeing that line of BL as well. Um, I hope
Yeah,
the sister comes back into it a bit more too.
yeah. I don't know.
Because
I don't know where they're taking it actually with the
I really
recent
don't know.
chapters. With the recent chapters, I'm just like, oh, wait a minute. Now we're going in this direction.
It almost feels like we're having like little mini arcs with
Hmm,
Girl of the Week almost.
yeah,
Um, but and I was getting really nervous because I wasn't sure how they were going to top um the last girl that he rescues. Okay, first of all, we'll give a quick premise.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Do
yeah.
you want
Let's
to?
roll that over.
You
You
go
want
with the
okay,
premise.
I'll go with the premise. So what we have is a master assassin. He's a master of poisons and comes from a special family clan, and he is world renowned for being an assassin. We are introduced into one of the weirdest worlds that have been out lately. I mean, you can do all your monsters and all your other shenanigans, but this thing takes the normal and just skews it
It's so
slightly,
weird.
like you're just watching some kind of bizarre, over stylized, drama of some kind where people are
Yeah.
smoking 10 cigarettes at once, or they're lifting
I
tables
completely
that
forgot
have
about
people.
him.
Yeah.
Not to
Well,
mention
the
using
chairs,
human being
yes.
as chairs.
Yes. Everything is just, and that is, those moments of absurdity are balanced out because they're one side of the comic, and then you're introduced to the scenario where his sister, who isn't a part of the assassin realm, she lives a rather normal life and is in love with someone, and they're going to get married and all that sort of stuff. Except because our main protagonist doesn't know anything about being in a relationship, he can't carry on the family seed per se. So the family decides to start forcing that upon the sister instead. So he takes it upon himself to find a bride.
Well, the big point there is why she can't make an heir is because she's a lesbian.
That's right.
So to save his sister's relationship and not make her essentially the family's breeding machine, which is just weird to say, um, he then decides to take it upon himself that he will go outside of his comfort zone to find himself a wife.
Yeah. Introducing our next MC, the
Is it
um,
Kurosaki?
it's
Is,
Kurosaki. Yeah.
yeah.
He is a cross dresser who,
Well, there's a lot of I've noticed because I've been looking at the comment section, which is really the benefit to Manga Plus is that it's has a
yeah,
ready comment section, which is allowing a community to grow behind them. No one's 100% sure if they believe Kurosaki is actually male or not.
did we not get the bath scene?
We did, but we never saw anything. So people are like, until we see penis, we're still skeptical.
Which is never really going to happen unless they,
No.
yeah, which is fine. I mean, I'm fine with it. And sometimes, honestly, sometimes you see those moments where he's interacting with one of the girls, and Kurosaki is just like in the background going, "Oh, wait a minute, I'm not too comfortable with this." You're right. It's
Yeah.
if he is a boy, it is bordering on that BL environment where he's trying to help his friend, but at the same time, he's falling madly in love with him at the
I
same
think
time.
so too. And I'm wondering if we'll go through this entire thing. Garo will get introduced to all these girls. This is back to where we're getting into the girl of the week situation.
Yeah,
Um, Garo lays himself bare to the first girl that he rescues on their first date. Instead of asking her out as to go steady and go like be boyfriend and girlfriend, he just takes that first step and asks her to be his friend and is completely honest and says this is where I'm coming from. If you do get to know me and we are compatible, I am more than happy to pursue that, but I don't want to force that on you. And it took all the weirdness and all the creepiness of him potentially scoping out marriage proposals by white knighting himself into these
yeah,
situations, which I really really appreciated because that was something that was always kind of niggling at the back of my head, and I was kind of pushing it back because it's a foremost, it's a comedy manga.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but there was still that like it's a little bit weird. Um,
Yeah. But the guy's too honest. This is the thing.
yeah,
He's trying to break these boundaries, but he's one of the most honest people that, are introduced in the manga at all. And
yeah,
if he was to take that step in that direction, it would have been off point.
yeah. It would have been definitely out of character. I
Yeah.
mean, the first chapter, he outright kind of declares himself not a good person, but he has morals.
Yeah.
He is a murderer, but he only takes cases where it falls in line with his own sense of justice.
Yeah.
So there is a clear moral line there.
Yeah.
And he even proposes to Kurosaki in that first chapter and flat out tells Kurosaki pretty much his whole situation. And I think that should have set me at ease from the very get go, but I'm glad that they reestablished that with
Yeah.
the date scene.
Yeah.
Um, and then Kurosaki being all like, "Hey, we're going to introduce you to more girls, so that you have a broader interpretation of people and a better understanding of people. And that when you do find that person, and that person finds you, you can both fall deeper and more madly in love with each other because you have more of a context." My
Or
theory my theory currently, if it does go down that BL route, is that he's going to end up with, argument's sake, we'll say 20 close female friends, and he's going to marry Kurosaki.
he's gonna end up with a one male lover.
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping that that's the route that it goes down.
It would be good fun. It would be good
Yeah.
fun. I'd be happy with that.
And that's the really cool thing about Jump Plus, is that you
Hmm.
wouldn't see this title in Jump at
No,
all.
no, they wouldn't dare put
Um,
something like this in
it
there.
was very it was very shocking for me to see it on Jump Plus. Like, I didn't, it was probably one of the newer titles that I'd picked up
Yeah,
that was in that BL maybe light. Probably the other closest thing was the dentist one that you
yeah,
were reading.
yeah,
Excuse me, dentist that's touching me. Was that what it was
yeah,
called?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's mainly because Shueisha in general tend to stick to shonen,
Mm.
which is teenage boys. So it
Yep.
would seem unusual for them to step into that realm. But at the same time, is it? This is a more progressive age that we live in these days.
Yep.
And, the boys out there might want both. They might
Yeah.
want the action and they might want the BL and they might want the, whatever
The
else is out there.
romance, and it's
And
it's blended so well.
yeah, yeah, it is. You can't tell. You can't tell it's in there. And if you weren't paying attention and you were just reading it as a bog standard comedy romance, then that's what
Yeah.
you'll see.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's getting away with the amount of content. The sister was just played off like it was nothing.
Yeah.
It was just like you were in love, and the fact that they said she instead of he there was just nothing behind
Yep.
it. Nobody even
It's
noticed.
it's very blasé about
Hmm.
its characters and their leanings. Like, the the only thing that reason why Kurosaki was such a blindside is because she portrays herself as a she, and
Yeah, all the time.
it was very jarring for Gero because he kind of fell in love with her a little bit.
Yeah,
So actually, how much do they pronoun her much at all? I haven't noticed. Like, I know, like, they recently did the, "Oh, I thought you and Kurosaki," and
yeah.
Gero cuts her off and he's like, "No, it's a he."
That's it. That's a he. Kurosaki's a he.
And that's kind of like the most recent thing, but I don't
Yeah,
remember much else.
yeah.
And even the action is on
Mm.
point. Like, it's not B grade at all.
No, no,
So,
and I was gonna make a point here that if anybody is reading Sakamoto Days
I was about to
or
say, yeah.
or you know, Spy X Family, you know, you're getting a very similar tone of everyday life mixed in with high octane action, and you know, it's on a very similar path with the pacing and the character development. So you know, if you're reading either of those, you're going to thoroughly enjoy this, because
Yeah.
it's, you know, it's unadulterated stupidity on some levels, but
It's
at the
so
same time
good.
so goddamn cute. It's just, it's such a cool mix. It's like if you made a romantic comedy out of freaking JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's
It
it's
is a
just got that.
romantic comedy, isn't it?
Oh, I guess on some occasions it is. It's whatever the hell it wants to be. That's what it is.
Like that that particular story where they get magnetized and they're just kind of pounding against each other.
I love it.
Yeah, it's so
So
good.
much fun. So much fun. Okay, so I'm gonna bring up a couple more,
Go for it.
or a few more new things before we run off. So today I also read, um, Make the Exorcist Fall in Love with Me,
Yes, I
or
hadn't gotten
Fall in
around
Love.
to it. How was it?
I well, I started thinking it was just going to be a cutesy teen romance thing. You know, they're in exorcist school, or you know, one's a demon and they're trying to make them fall in love, and it was going to be fun. Man, this thing is bordering seinen. The main
Really?
character, the main character has been tortured since birth, basically. You know, almost killed on several occasions, and been told that he is a, you know, a utensil for God, and he has to kill the devil. And you know, he's had the
Okay.
Bible beaten into him. It is just like really dark, uh, and he gets mentored by a teacher who's basically, he's one of the church's more loose components. And he's given the task of teaching this kid how to be an exorcist and all that sort of stuff, but actually ends up teaching him that life is more about, well, living and love and all this other stuff. So, you know, after an in absolutely insane battle that involves a succubus that turns inside out, um, and
Those
and
first
then,
few pages.
yeah, and the MC literally rips his own eye out because of the Bible. It's just because of words from the Bible. It's like really intense. That first part of it's really intense, and then at the very end, the last 3 pages or so, I'm just like, that's what I came for. There's a cute
Oh, look,
little
romance.
moment. Yeah, yeah. There's a cute little moment in there, and I'm just like, yep, okay, maybe this is going to be a thing. You know, if they do want to maintain, because the action is quite horrific. It's quite horror based.
Oh
Um,
wow. Yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a bit of body horror.
Yeah, you know, there was something, some words about the about open wounds looking like female genitals and stuff like that. It was just, it's like
Oh
really intense,
my. I'm just
and
flicking through
not
all
what I was
right, that is
expecting.
not what I was expecting at all either.
Yeah, yeah, with a title like that, I just wasn't expecting it, which is fine. I mean, it
Wow.
looks super interesting, and I'm curious to see
I
where it
know what I'm reading
goes.
after this now.
Yeah, so pick that up if you like the more horror, you know, content. It's quite enjoyable.
So, do you think it's
The
going to be like a horror romance battle
I
manga?
feel like it's going to have a lot of little romance components to it, but I think the vast majority, especially of the action and the battle environments, are going to be very horror based. A lot more so than, you know, things like Jujutsu Kaisen and stuff like that, which kind of claim to be horror, but just sort of general action violence. Whereas this is actual
It,
proper horror.
yeah.
Um,
Jujutsu's thriller, supernatural.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, so pick it up if you're into some, you know, some really horrible looking stuff. Uh, the
It
next
also
one,
kind of looks like there's a little bit of like the little bits I saw of the succubus, like she looked pretty like well drawn.
oh,
So
the
it looks
art's
like it.
Yeah,
it,
that's
it could
nice.
have some like I hesitate to use the word sexy, but after seeing what came after it, but but it could have that sort of element to it as well, maybe.
I don't. Yeah, well, there was a lot of, context of lust that was thrown
I
in
mean,
that first chapter,
if they
and
are going around like the church,
yeah,
if the yeah, it's probably going to go on those like seven deadly sins sort of routes. So you
amongst other
lust, wrath,
things. Yeah,
envy, and yeah,
yeah. So
that looks
it's pretty
that looks like
intense.
an interesting one.
Yeah, yeah. The other one I read was "You and I Are Polar Opposites." Um,
That's the one that you sent me a couple of screenshots from.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So it's a new series serialized on Plus.
I
I
got
think it's
them
only on Plus.
confused.
Yeah, don't you can't get those two confused because they are literally
Polar
polar
opposites.
opposites. Yeah. So this thing is just wholesome, cute, teen romance fun about two um, dorks who fall in love, but also have very opposite personalities. So they're both a little bit socially awkward in their own ways. One blurts everything that comes to mind while contemplating what everybody else is going to think of them. And the other one is so dead quiet because he's too concerned that people are going to say something about him. So they're both got an anxiety level of social environment there, but one's just more external than the other, and they fall in love with each other in class unknowingly because of these little tiny interactions where she's stirring him up and he's just sort of giving her one word answers and stuff like that, and it's a constant throw backwards and forwards for
Is
them.
it a little stop toying with me, Nagato? Is that what it's called?
No, no, no,
No.
because that's just like the basis for their relationship and how it started.
Okay.
It's only like at the very start of the manga, of the first chapter. So it's just the beginning of where it comes from, and it becomes more relevant that the quiet one, the guy, is a lot more forward than she is, and
Oh,
she's a lot more reserved, even though she's a lot more outspoken. So it's this
that's actually
interesting,
really yeah. That's a nice dynamic.
and
I
the
like that.
personalities. It's clear that whoever's writing this is familiar with social anxiety, is familiar with how people interact with each other and what they think of themselves while they're interacting with other people. It's going to be an interesting little series. I hope it's limited, to be honest. I hope it's a short series,
Yeah.
and gives
I
us
mean,
lots of great moments.
Jump Plus, they have been known like it's only been kind of one now, but
Mm.
with Takopi's Original
Yeah,
Sin, that was a short run. So it's possible. I was
yeah,
just quickly looking over. There's actually about 18 titles on Jump Plus that are solely on like the Manga Plus app.
yeah.
Um, and a few of like there is a couple of bleed over, but not much. So we might actually cover a couple more of them. We'll read the first few chapters and let you guys know how they are next fortnight.
Yep.
Um, but just before we do wrap up, I want to quickly touch on Trojan X
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
ever so briefly. It's 24th chapter has just dropped like maybe a week ago now. A week ago exactly.
Keeping into
Um,
consideration that most of the chapters are about 44 pages long. But
they
yes.
are very yes. Although it's a very quick read because
Yeah.
you're just eating those pages.
Hmm.
It's paced very well that you're not noticing that you're reading 40 to 50 pages.
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
so roughly on average it'd be like a 50 chapter page count roughly, but
Hmm.
because of the way Ishida's being allowed to release the chapters, like Logan said, they're quite long. Chapter 24 prologue is over.
Yay! Only, I reckon, almost 2 Tokaban there worth
I
of
would.
content.
I reckon that's at least 4, man.
You think?
Yeah,
I
like
have
you
to go
said,
back and
they're
read.
big. They're big
Yeah,
chapters.
big chapters. And it is an epic prologue. Really,
Yeah, and it's set up
it's a
like
great lead in. Yeah,
massive, massive implications.
but at the same
Um,
time, I'm super happy that's how it's panned out.
yes.
Because
Oh, I
it's a nice introduction into the world and the way
the
it works
world,
now.
the characters, they're so and it's so open ended.
Yeah,
With that prologue as well. I don't know if the release schedule is going to slow down a little bit, or what's going to happen going forward, but because they just kind of drop whenever. Um, but my god, it's definitely this is sticking around and it's getting an anime adaptation. There is no
oh
way
yeah,
that it's not.
yeah.
It's
Uh,
probably it feels like a much more refined Tokyo Ghoul,
mm,
and I feel like this is going to be his epic.
yeah.
And watch me eat those words when it gets cancelled next week.
No, it won't. There's no way. There is a possibility that he's going to go on a bit of a hiatus for a bit,
Yeah,
but he has been known to take a good 2 or 3 weeks off. Um,
yeah.
so, which is
Um,
fine. That's fine. If he's going to come
it.
back with 40 pages, I don't care. It's if
Oh,
you
that's
don't tell me there's another
interesting.
chapter already.
No, 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 no. I'm just quickly checking the Shonen Jump app because yeah, the only way to read all of Trojan X is on Shonen Jump app at the moment. Even
Yep.
though I thought it was actually a Jump Plus property
Um, I don't know if
because
it is because it came out
on
simultaneously.
there's only 3 chapters, and then the most recent 3 chapters on Manga
Yeah.
Plus.
Yeah, I would say that it is a jump. They wouldn't go
Yeah,
giving, though the release schedule would imply it to Plus.
right. But if you have been sleeping on it, now is the time to pick it up.
Yeah,
Um,
catch up.
there's a lot to sink your teeth into. It has some really, I would say it's more of a horror than any like any other thing like jujutsu.
Yeah,
I'd say it's more horror than Tokyo Ghoul. Tokyo Ghoul is more gory for sure, but
yeah,
then
but it
again,
still had that shonen feel to it.
yeah, this is bordering on seinen.
Yeah, and it's got more to
Um,
do with the pacing, the character development, and the world that they live in is just so drab, so dark.
yeah, it's
Uh,
so well thought out and well portrayed in those 24 chapters as well. Like I
yeah,
know they're bigger than normal, but still it's so rich.
a
And
lot of content.
oh man, the character dynamics between the two mate MCs has just been incredible, especially
Has
with
been.
these last three, four chapters.
I'm going to say 3. Last 3, it's been, yeah, very, very much them, and a lot
Yep,
of development for both. And we've had some really nice cutback scenes,
yep,
where we've seen where the characters actually stand with each other, because it was very loosely implied early on, but
yep.
now we've solidified exactly where they stand and what
There's
they think of each other.
a lot of knots to be untangled in their
Mm,
relationship. Um, oh man, the similarities and the parallels, and just the implications of that narration at the end of what Trojan X is,
yeah,
and the significance of the title, and who will be the Trojan X, who will be the destroyer, who will be the savior. Will both of the characters, like the MCs, be Trojan X? But the differing sides of that coin, and will they have to come to a clash? Like, oh,
and which one will be which is the other
so
question.
exciting.
It's
This
going to
series,
be fun.
man,
Is this
like
going to be a fun ride?
it's been so enjoyable so far. already, but this last chapter has just like it was almost like Ishida's been putting like on this a massive spread on this like huge table. There's so much food. It's like massively regal setup, and he's just pulled the blanket out with doing that like funky trick, and everything's just stayed on top. And the reveal is that the table underneath is made of solid gold. And and then there's another layer
Or
of food
human
underneath.
flesh.
Well, yeah. I don't
Yes.
know, man. It's just there's so much that chapter has just it hasn't really done much, but it's expanded the scope of the story so much with just
Yeah,
4 pages.
that's right. That's right.
So much. The setup for that was just incredible, and the payoff was so good. I want more.
There'll be more. There'll be more.
Definitely a win for Ishida there. And I hope that he does get the freedom to continue the way that he's doing it at the moment, like he did last time as well, or that he has continued to do, and that it doesn't have any issues like Tokyo Ghoul did, in especially with its anime adaptation when it will get one. There's no way
Yeah,
it's not.
yeah. You
Um,
couldn't not do this right. It is so clear cut.
yeah.
You don't need to steer
Yeah, but I
away from
mean,
the
if you
source
read the
material.
manga for Tokyo Ghoul, it also should have been pretty clear cut. But anyway,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
weird. That's a weird adaptation, man. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think that kind of wraps up most of
Good.
what we wanted to talk about this fortnight. Um,
Yeah, I think
let us
so.
know in the in the description in the comment section down below what you want us to check out, if anything. Otherwise, we'll be back next fortnight to let you know what we've been checking out. Make sure to like the video wherever you are: Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. I think Twitch has a like. And subscribe and ring the notification bell to be notified when all of our videos go up.
Yeah.
I've been Brad.
And I've been Logan.
I love that there's a little bit of a delay. And we have been Read This Way. We will see you next time.